Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. So, in this Horn of Africa update, I am looking at the headlines for The Guardian. And the headline of The Guardian states the following: Ethiopia is fighting difficult and tiresome guerrilla war in Tigray, says Prime Minister. Indeed, it is. So, how much longer will this tiresome uh, guerrilla conflict go on? Well, I would say when it transitions from a guerrilla conflict to which we see the Tigrayan Defense Forces taking active operations against large and mid-sized towns. So, as the conflict currently stands, the power base of the TDF is obviously central Tigray, the mountainous rural areas. While they are conducting an uptick in operations, specifically targeting the B-30 highway, military supply columns moving from Tigray up towards Adigrat, and then again from Adigrat along the A2 highway towards Mekelle and environments south all the way to Alamada. At some point, there will need to be a transition from operations against the major transportation routes to direct action inside of built-up urban areas. When these operations finally start to take place, and depending on the success of these operations, you will then start to see the collapse of the Ethiopian army that is currently inside of Tigray. The current activity obviously is reasonably effective per what is being reported allegedly by the Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed. But I don't believe the Ethiopian armed forces are quite on one knee as of yet. That will happen again when operations start to take place inside of the cities. And I know that is a strategy-based decision in terms of not wanting to bring the war to the civil population of Tigray per se. However, that is already occurring. And we are seeing that in the form of some of these battlefield, well, they're not even really battlefield atrocities, they're just extrajudicial atrocities that are being launched by the Ethiopian army against fighting age males inside of Tigray. So when we see the conflict transition from an industrial strength guerrilla conflict to one where we see actual Tigrayan Defense Forces making inroads and taking control of some of these larger towns and cities, and they may not even need to permanently take control of these towns and cities, but move in, seize control, and then pull out. When we start to see that occur, and we start to hear reports of activity inside of these major urban areas, we know that things have definitely turned inside of the Tigray region, and we could see again, as I had talked about before, the collapse of the Ethiopian military, and that will be seen once we start to hear about these Tigrayan Defense Forces actually entering these large cities. And unfortunately, they are going to have to partake in urban combat once they do this. And depending on the morale and the status of the Ethiopian troops inside of these cities, again, we could quickly see the collapse of the Ethiopian army, especially inside of Tigray. And then the other equation is the OLA that is operating inside of Ethiopia as well. What happens there? Does it get more aggressive as things start to fall apart inside of Tigray? But again, we continue to get reports of really kind of focused ambush operations along these major accesses of supply and these roadways inside of Tigray, as you can see there from my cursor. But again, we'll keep an eye on what is occurring, and as soon as we hear things, we will report back as soon as possible. Thanks, everybody.